Hello. How do you like my destroyed office chair? It's pretty nice, isn't it? I run a classy office over here. This is all very new to me. This setup, this microphone, hearing myself in my ears. I owe a huge thank you to Ryan for helping me with this because he's the audio person and I am very much not an audio person. This sounds so weird. Anyway, it was important to me to do this video in the way that I had envisioned it. And it has been a struggle. But this is my video and here we go. I recently completed a challenge that I thought was outside of my reach. I ran at least 5 kilometers every day for a year. It was a run streak. A run streak is simple. You run every day for however long a streak you are doing. It could be a week or a month, or in my case, a year. I'm sure you know that I didn't stop my run streak at a year. In fact, I just checked my spreadsheet, and today is day 400. It took me so long to make this video for several reasons. Every time I pulled the camera out, I found myself just rambling. I tried on 4 separate occasions to film this, on runs or at my desk. It all felt wrong, like I was doing this whole thing an injustice. I can't understate the importance of how this silly run streak affected me, and I really wanted to do it right. So here I am trying to do it right. There are no real rules for a run streak, except it has everything to do with running and nothing to do with being naked, I don't think, anyway. The rules are what you make them. In my case, I neither own a treadmill nor do I have a gym membership, so all my runs are outside. I went against everything I read on the internet and kept my daily minimum to 5K. It seemed to work for me. It doesn't work for everyone. There's a lot of naysayers out there who poo-poo run streaks, saying you're setting yourself up for injury and your body must have rest days. I agree to disagree. Running is variable and it affects everybody differently. I should also note that some people may not consider my streak a proper streak. In October, Ryan and I had the COVID. We'd never had it before and it rocked our worlds in such a bad way. I was unable to run for 11 days. During that 11 days, I dragged myself out and walked the dogs at least 5 kilometers. Every day I had COVID that I wasn't running. I know it's not running, but it was the best I could do given the circumstances. And for what it's worth, some of those 5-kilometer walks were harder than racing a half marathon. For the record, we had a regular head cold this year in April, and it didn't stop me from running right through it, if that gives any context to how bad we were both feeling with COVID. That's also the reason why I extended my run streak 11 days on the end. It was my way of making myself feel better knowing for 11 days I only walked. The official 365 days was on June the 11th, but I considered June the 22nd the unofficial end. I'm proud to say that I found myself at the tail end of a challenge that seemed so fucking unattainable, asinine, and unrealistic. This is my story. Why did I do this and what did I learn? So a lot can happen in a year, and even the best laid plans will face adversity. I live in southern Ontario, so we can get extreme temperatures and weather on both ends of the spectrum. We get really hot and humid summers and bitter cold snaps in the winter. I ran in everything Mother Nature had to offer. Heat, cold, thunderstorms, wind and snowstorms. I ran in the dark through most of the winter and attempted to get out early in the mornings in summer to try and avoid the afternoon wrath of the sun. To begin though, why would anyone choose to do this? Why is this even a thing? At my core, I love running. I've been running since my early 20s. Sports, especially endurance sports, are where I find joy in life. I did take a hiatus for quite a while when I was into bike racing and endurance cycling, but running was always my fallback. And running is like a hobby to me. It's what I want to do, and I really enjoy pushing my limits. I've always strived for physical challenges. If you want to learn what you're really made of, get into endurance sports. Some people run for other reasons, and a lot of people run even though they never like it. To start at the most important part of the story is my dad. He's my biggest influence, so here's a little backstory. I was not born into an athletic family apart from my dad. I don't know when he got into running, but I think it was more towards his adult life. He ran 5 marathons after myself and my 2 siblings were born. My dad maintained a 26-year-long run streak. Let that sink in for a moment, or 2 moments, seriously. 26 years. 9,490 days in a row. My entire childhood was memories of my dad's daily runs after work. He was a high school math teacher, for the record. Or on family vacations. My siblings and I used to argue over who had to sit next to Dad's stinky running bag in the station wagon. He ran in the snow, rain, and heat, through injury and sickness, though for what it's worth, I don't ever remember my dad really being sick. Maybe it was the running. It was such a part of my life that it probably subconsciously infiltrated my thoughts. I used to dream about running years before I even started. I don't mean dream, I mean literal dreams while I slept. Constantly. I have fond memories of riding our bikes alongside him on his long runs. He'd run 20 kilometers to our grandparents' house for Sunday dinners on the regular, a distance that seemed unfathomable to me at the time. He would just show up, have a shower, and get on with it. And he never seemed to be tired. I wanted to be like him. I wanted to know why he ran every day and what it was all about. Was it just a commitment thing? Did he love it? Clearly it was something good, or he wouldn't do it, right? Or at least that's the thought that formed in my young brain. The truth is, I started running because of him. Because it was as much a part of my life as it was his. Kids like me are sensitive and extremely observant, and it affected me so deeply. I don't think I can say the same for my other 2 siblings, but hey, I'm a middle child. What can I say? This video is for you, Dad. So I've been running on and off for 20 plus years, and secretly always wanted to try this run streak thing. It seemed impossible. I couldn't stop thinking, how do you run every day without rest days? I always felt like I needed recovery when I was training for long distances. I thought it was such a dumb idea to run every day. I thought I would fall apart. I had run 5 or 7 days in a row a few times, just out of happenstance. Alas, randomly, one day, I just upped and decided to try it for a month. A month turned into a year turned into this. Most days it has nothing to do with the run streak and everything to do with making time for myself. It isn't a chore, it's the best part of my day. Sure, there are plenty of days when I feel strapped for time, feel unwell or unmotivated because it's minus 20 degrees Celsius in a blizzard or pouring rain. But most days, getting out isn't an issue for me. In fact, that's one of the things that I noticed over time. I started procrastinating less. I got used to being halfway down the street before I even realized what I was doing. I stopped planning which route I wanted to do or how far I wanted to go. I would just run in a random direction and make it whatever I wanted it to be. It was me time, after all. Time that I would put on loud music, silence my phone, and ignore the emails and phone calls as best I could. Time that I could run as hard as I wanted, depending on how much was on my mind or how stressed out and anxious I am. It's amazing how running makes it difficult to think about anything other than running at that exact moment in time. Watching my feet, singing to the music, looking out for cars, remembering my turns, there's really nothing else going on up there inside my brain. Also, as a reminder, I have type 1 diabetes. Back in the day, it was called juvenile diabetes. This year marks half my life with it. I got diagnosed at 22. I have a non-functioning pancreas, so I'm insulin dependent. High-impact endurance sports with type 1 diabetes is a motherfucking disaster. There's no pleasant way of putting that. Contrary to popular belief, this kind of exercise makes managing my disease far harder than if I wasn't a runner at all. I feel like a walking contradiction. If I stopped running, I would have better control of my disease, but also, I'm not going to stop running because I love it. My diabetes does not love it though. I just want the extreme difficulties of managing running and diabetes to be known. This topic alone could easily be 500 videos. So here are a few things I learned. Number 1, I can commit and do hard things. Enough said. Number 2, I can run in any kind of weather. My favorite is actually when it's actively snowing. I've also come to really enjoy a good summer rainstorm. There's something so freeing about running down the road in pouring rain. I just can't explain it. Number 3, I still really suck at getting in proper strength training. It's not my forte, but I do try to stretch every single day before bed, a routine influenced by Ryan. I prefer trails or recreational paths, but I also suck at trail running because hills are hard. I generally run primarily on roads because it's a product of where I live, suburbia. Driving somewhere to run is a field trip. That's not something I do every day. It just seems so wasteful on time and gas when I can just throw my shoes on and go out my front door. But it also means I don't get to trails often. Number 5, I've almost been hit by a car more times than I can count. In fact, one time a car did hit me, it just wasn't an injury. I've learned the hard way that drivers do not look out for pedestrians. I'm a driver myself, and I will say I do look out for pedestrians, maybe because this has happened to me so many times. It's just gotten to the point where I've trained myself to be the one to go around or wait. I never give them the opportunity to stop because 9 times out of 10 they blow through stop signs and gun it towards me through intersections in complete disregard. Number 6, short and sweet. The longer I run, the uglier my feet get. True story. Number 7, every day I step foot outside to run, I must have fast-acting sugars on my person at all times. I usually just carry a tube of glucose tablets because it's convenient. I also need my phone on me because it doubles as my continuous glucose monitor, which help me catch highs and lows before they go to the point where I'm sitting on the side of the road tanking, even though that still happens a lot. Number 8, I do a lot of laundry, especially in the summer. Number 9, good running form requires constantly paying attention, and I do attribute a lot of my lack of injuries on focusing on my running form. Not that I haven't had injuries, by the way. Number 10, some runs feel like absolute garbage for seemingly no reason, and sometimes I can hammer out a 5K PR the day after a 20+ kilometer long run. It just doesn't make any sense. Number 11, no matter how many years I run, my bowels still revolt. This is also why I don't really have running friends I feel comfortable enough to run with. It's embarrassing, and I'm fucking ashamed of it. Here's the thing. Running makes a lot of people poop, but I feel like it affects me way more than most. I was hoping over time my body would adjust and get better, but after years of running, it's always the same results. I do try to keep track of it, and for the longest time I was actually monitoring my blood sugars and my food intake, trying to see if I could figure out a why. Alas, there is never a rhyme or reason. It's the most random thing ever. I basically have about a 50% success rate on any given day, whether I will actually shit my pants, almost shit my pants, have to shit in a bush, or barely make it home. I cut my run short on so many occasions because of this. It is unpredictable, and some days it really upsets me, especially when I've gone through a string of like 10 straight days in a row of this happening. Number 12. My body changes. These changes were a bit surprising. First of all, I'm not out to lose weight. I've been a runner long enough to know that it's never affected my weight. I don't really run for that reason. However, there are still changes that naturally happened. My weight remains consistent, but I've lost weight on my upper body. My sports bras have become too loose, which is annoying as a runner with boobies. My weight has distributed more to my legs now. Even though I don't really do a lot of strength training, I definitely have stronger legs. And the last one, lucky number 13. The last thing I will talk about before sharing my yearly stats is this. The most surprising thing of all that has happened to me is my improvement. I thought running every day was going to be bad for me, and I'd always be chasing the elusive and non-existent recovery. I thought my body was going to break down and crumble under the pressure. What actually happened is the opposite. Over time, I got better at active recovery. I started bouncing back quicker. Running on tired and sore legs isn't easy, but I responded so well to it. I just ran with it. Pun intended. I largely run on feel, but I have slowly noticed a change in numbers. What started happening was my average paces were increasing. I don't know why I didn't expect that, but I guess because even through my old distance running days, I was never better than the bottom 1/4. Meaning that at any given race, I always fell in the bottom 25% compared to the rest of the participants. I called myself a slow runner, but I was more just an average runner, and comparing myself to people that participate in races isn't really the whole picture, but it was the picture that I had access to. I just never really saw any sort of improvement over the years in my 20s and 30s. It was just the same old, same old. I was just this continuous metronome that never really got any better. The longer I run and the higher I push my weekly mileage now during my streak, the faster I get without even trying. What's more is that I turn 45 at the end of this year, and my running has continued to improve month over month. I'm a far better runner now in my 40s than I ever was in my 20s. My average pace in my 20s and 30s was no better than 6 minutes and 30 seconds per kilometer. For reference, I don't think I ever really saw a kilometer average under 6 minutes. A number of years ago, I adjusted my running form and started seeing my average pace go up a little. Over months during this streak, though, I started seeing 550 something until it got to the point where all my runs were in the 550s. I thought, oh shit, you need to slow down. You can't keep this pace up. And furthermore, I couldn't understand why I was seeing those paces. It worried me, but I just kept running based on feel, and my paces were consistently below 6. A couple months later, I would randomly see a 540 something until that became the new average that freaked me out and made me think I was running too fast again. And now my average pace is almost always in the 530s. I'm starting to see a ton of 520s. There was even a few neighborhood 10 kilometer plus runs I've averaged a 520 something pace unintentionally. Now I'm starting to see 510s on occasions and even a 5:0 something. It's not often, but it's ever so slowly presenting itself. This is not from me doing speed work or tempo work. This is just any given day running down the street on feel. I just didn't expect that, especially as I age. I thought I'd start, getting slower. I thought running would eventually just feel easy. I didn't think it would actually make me faster. For reference, I ran a half marathon in September, and it was the first time doing an official time-sanctioned event in at least a decade. I ran a 1 hour 57 minute while holding back out of fear, and I was absolutely floored when I crossed that finish line. My old half marathon PR was 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I remember killing myself for that. In September, I cut off 18 minutes without even really trying. Then I ran around the Bay Race here in Hamilton in March, a race I've done 3 times before a number of years ago. It's notoriously a difficult hilly 30-kilometer race, though this year it was actually 35 kilometers. They keep a timing mat at the 30K mark. I crossed the 30K point at 2 hours and 48 minutes. My previous PR was 3 hours and 23 minutes. I ran a 7-minute PR and continued to run 5 kilometers to the finish line where most of the participants were walking by then. Again, without specific training other than increasing my long runs and running every single day, this has been my natural progression since starting this run streak. I'm no longer in the bottom 1/4 of the field. I'm now happy to say I'm in the upper 1/4. It's been such a pleasant surprise and motivation for me. It has taught me that I'm actually pretty good at this running thing, and that was never even the point. In summary, I am very proud of this achievement, and I plan to keep it going until I feel like I want to stop. But here are my stats to end it all off. 365 days. Average daily kilometers, 8.26 kilometers. Total mileage, 3,089 kilometers. Average daily time that I ran, 50 minutes and 27 seconds. Total time, 314 hours. My average pace, 6 minutes and 3 seconds at the start of the year, 5 minutes 37 seconds at the end of the year. Average daily calories burned, 473. Total calories burned, 177,602. Average heart rate, 157. Average success rate, aka not shitting my pants, 55%. The worst month was April 2024. Don't really know why. I only had a success rate of 23.3%. Yikes. That's basically, on average, I was having poop issues 8 out of 10 runs that month. My best month was August 2023 with a nice success rate of 74.2%, which left me with a false sense of security for what it's worth. My biggest month of mileage was November 2023 because that is Diabetes Awareness Month, and for the month I decided on a whim to average 10K a day for the whole month. In the end, I completed 318.42 kilometers to end with an average of 10.61 kilometers a day. If you've sat with me for this long, to the bitter end, thank you. I don't really want to be reading it verbatim, but if I don't, I keep fucking up. Fuck me.